Samo, coming to you again from my basement. Hope everybody's having a good week. I'm getting ready to head on up to join my buddies up in Jackson Hole, Wyoming for the Horseshoe Music Festival. My buddy Dwayne Betts is putting that on, and it's a stellar lineup of great musicians and some really good friends. Dwayne and Johnny Stachula and John Ginty and Jackie Green and Maggie Rose and Nikki Blum, I'm sorry, and my buddy Adam Abershoff and the great George Porter from the Meters. It's going to be a hell of a time. So anyway, got a funky guitar here. Two things, this guitar. So one is seriously, one of the sweetest people I've ever known in my life, Joe Glazier, here in Nashville. One of the most legendary luthiers and guitar repairmen and builders and philosophers, and just, so a quick story about Joe Glazier. When I first moved here, I moved here in February of 2006 to Nashville, and I had one electric guitar, one amplifier, and one acoustic guitar. And when I first started subbing for Guthrie Trapp in the Don Kelly Band was around September of that year, September of 06. And I joined Don full-time in, I think, July or August or something. I think it was July, though, of the following year, of 07. And that's when, consequently, when I started making, for the first time in my life, making some money and was able to actually have some equipment. But for, that period of time, I had one guitar, a Telecaster, and that I got from my buddy Zach. And Joe knew, I met Joe, and I'm pretty sure I probably met Joe through Don Kelly. I can't remember, but Joe knew that I only had one guitar, and he knew I was poor as fuck. And so when I'd have things that I needed done to my guitar, he would say, "Oh man, come tomorrow, or come later today," or whatever. And he would fix it while I waited. And there were so many times that he wouldn't let me pay for it. Kind of makes me want to cry. Like, kind of makes me emotional thinking about it. I mean, like, he took care of me in my time of need, and like believed in me and looked out for me. And I'll never forget. It meant a lot and means a lot. And Joe is a very dear friend. I was texting Bukovac the other day because he went and got the famous mailbox from out front, which I just think is the coolest thing, and I love it that Book got it. It's such a meaningful thing, because there's never been, to my knowledge, there's never even been a sign saying that it's Glazier's. You just have to know which building it is. And that was like the only identifying symbol, and I just love it that Tom got that. And I sent him a text about it, like, man, I'm so happy for you, and that's very emotional. And I still to this day spend many a time walking around the building with him and Nick Druschel and all the boys, Adam, Charlie, Scott. I mean, just some of my best buds in the world, and they've looked out for me for, well over 15 years. And I love those guys. And I just love hanging out. I love hanging out there. So anyway, so this is a guitar that Joe built. I guess he built the neck and the body around the same time, but like around 85-ish, he says. He said 85 to 87, I think. So this was sitting against the wall a couple months ago. Adam had put it together, I guess. And I picked it up and I was like, that is the greatest feeling neck I've ever felt. And Joe was like, man, take it, play it. He's like, you can't have it, you can't sell it. But he's like, if you want to use it, go ahead. He's like, if Adam's cool with it. And Adam was more than gracious enough to, thank you, Adam. So we've been, so me and Nick Druschel have been messing around with this ever since, because it had pickups in it, but we took them out. And we've tried a couple of different experiments, because it is just the lightest. It's a hardtail, and I guess back in the day, Joe had all the original DuPont colors that like were all the custom color fenders. He had the actual paint, like not just like the formula or whatever, but like the actual paint that like Fender. And so this is actual Dakota Red. And anyway, this is just a great instrument. And so we've experimented a couple. We put gold foils in it for a minute, put some old Van Zants I had in it, and now I sort of landed where I think I want this. And I'll explain the lack of a middle pickup in a minute. Another friend of mine, the second part of this, my friend Ron Ellis, who's a longtime good friend, who's been really sweet to me over the years. I was talking to him about it. I said, man, I don't really like middle pickups in Strats. I never use them. I never use the out of phase sounds. I was like, I only ever use the bridge and the neck. And I said, other than Robbie Robertson, I don't think I've ever seen anybody do that on a Strat. And I said, I would love to put your pickups in, because I don't, I only play a handful of guitars. And I said, I'd love to have something that has your stuff in it. So we talked about, Glazier's is a dealer for Ron Ellis now, which is amazing. I mean, it's one of the million things now living in Nashville that it's like, are you kidding me? We actually, the things we have access to, the workmanship, the talent, it's just an amazing place to live. I love living here. I mean, it's like all of my friends are, some of the greatest musicians in the world. And like, and that goes for anything. Like, obviously musicians make up a huge pool of my friends, but the guys at Glazer's, my buddy Zach Allen up at pre-CBS Amps, who does amp repair up at Carter's, who's taken care of me for years. Gary Bohannon, who was there for years. Barry and Greg at XTS. It's just amazing what we have access to here. Anyway, so back to Ron Ellis. So we were talking about it, and so this is a 64 in the bridge, and this is a 57. And this thing is so funky. So, I mean, like... And then, whoops, I took the switch flew off. I need to put some stickum on that. Then the neck pickup. Strat for what would be typical stuff. Like in my mind, I'm thinking more of stuff from the 50s, I've got flat wounds on this. But it's just amazing. And what a cool guitar, huh? Just fucking cool. You can kind of get some Fred McDowell stuff going. Crucial. I love you. Joe Glazier, honored to play it. Ron Ellis, amazing. Look at the figuring on it. I don't know if it shows up. I'm trying to get it like in the light, but like all of Joe was telling me that like, because he made all those guitars in the mid 80s, like for Ricky Skaggs and Jeff King and Steve Warner. I don't know if he made one for Reggie Young or not. Jimmy Olander, who's another buddy. But anyway, he made all the necks from like one tree, he said. Like, and it's just the most I mean, it just looks like a Glazier neck, you know. So anyway, been having fun playing it. Also want to talk about that. People ask me some about like that sort of, people call it boogie, you know. So it's a couple of things. One is like, I spent some time, I was really lucky when I was a teenager and I hadn't listened to any of the right music yet. And I was just like every other sort of hotshot kid. I thought I was something. And then I moved to Nashville and I realized what talent really was and how hard I'd have to work to even be worth a fraction of a damn, let alone worth a damn. But anyway, I got to be around John a bit, and I'm an obsessive John Lee Hooker fan. I just think he was the coolest dude. And my favorite stuff he ever did was the stuff that he did alone, really. There's a record that came out that got re-released in the 90s called John Lee Hooker Alone, and Fat Possum, the guys in Mississippi, are the ones that put it out. And I think it's him in Hunter, New York, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, check that record out, John Lee Hooker Alone. And it's just so, because it's his sense of time and his sense of phrasing is just so, it puts me in a trance. And it's, it's so simple, but I defy you to fucking sound like it. It's just amazing. And so part of it is that, which is more like kind of slowed down, you know, that sort of. Is using his index finger, which Hubert Sumlin and Jimmy Vaughn does this now, but that sort of, and playing up near the neck where it's a little more darker sounding. And that was the other thing, John, you know, like, it's different from the sort of sort of like what Tommy Emmanuel is the master at, like the Moral Travel style. It's more primal than that, where he'll grab two notes at one time, or sometimes more. So it's equal parts that, and then sort of like R.L. Burnside or Fred McDowell. More R.L. Burnside, that, you know, that famous clip of him doing Jumper on the Line, where the baby's crying in the background. And I can't do it like him, but himself, and it's that And I'm so intoxicated with that style, and so it's like the mixture of the two, and it's a bitch. It takes a while to get used to doing, and some people never really get it because you have to be so damn relaxed to get it to feel right. Anyway, I just love it, and playing it on this guitar is super fun. So anyway, that's about it, I guess. So yeah, I'm leaving tomorrow to go up to Wyoming. Can't wait to do it. See my buddies. Can't wait to play with George Porter. Yeah, a bunch of dates coming up in the fall here, coming up soon. We're going to announce the November stuff soon. There's a couple more shows in the October run, which will be me and Thomas Banks and Adam Abershoff in a trio format. We were just talking on the text message about what songs we were going to do. Going to be so much fun. Yeah, I'm trying to think of what I've been really listening to a lot of Alan Toussaint this week. Soul System. Been really into that. And also, you know, one of these nights at this festival is a tribute to the band. Just really enjoying still, even though it's been weeks since Robbie passed away, just what a funky guitar player he was. He reminds me of all the great R&B sidemen from those days, Bobby Womack and Reggie Young. You know, he just played such funky parts. Anyway, so yeah, so that's that. So Joe Glazier, Ron Ellis, love you dearly. I certainly don't deserve to get to use your stuff, but I will humbly do it until you tell me not to. I love you both very much. You mean a lot to me. And you all do too. So thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button and keep it greasy. I'll see you again soon.